22 years ago, September 11th, now known as 9/11, the tragic, desperate terrorist attack on the United States. But where were you? What were you doing when you first got the news? Maybe you weren't even born. It's been 22 years. There's a whole generation of young people that never understood that day when it was like for us. It was our Pearl Harbor. I do remember where I was at very vividly. In fact, I was at home getting ready for another day of work. I was working for the Rochester Hunkers baseball team at the time, having a time of my life working in sports. Came downstairs to my 6-year-old, my oldest daughter, watching TV and very confused, kind of very anxious that all of her favorite shows were not on, and there was one show on every channel. It was a pretty disturbing show. See, she had turned on the TV and began to watch her favorite shows, and all of a sudden, breaking news came in on all networks, all channels, and we stood together, my daughter and I, and watched Plane 2 hit in the Tower 2. And we stood speechless because it looked like something out of a movie. And my daughter at age 6 had no context of real versus movie. It even took me a moment to figure out this was real. By the time I got to work, we sat down, tried to have a day, clean up the postseason notes and money and schedules from our baseball season. But we sat there staring at the TV the entire time, shuffling papers, pretending to work, trying to work. And then the phone rang. Our assistant general manager, Mike, was calling in. We love Mike. He's a great guy. He was a wonderful guy. And Mike is calling in saying, guys, what's going on? And we're like, Mike, where are you? There's a loud noise in the background. Mike was on the streets, ground level, at 9/11. Mike was describing vivid images of people jumping from windows trying to save themselves before the building collapsed. Mike was trying to describe all the chaos. And then, as we saw on TV, big bellows of smoke and debris and unknown substance at that point came bellowing down the street. And Mike was describing it and running at the same time while he was on the phone with us. And we told him to run faster and run faster because we were watching on the TV as the smoke enveloped people and took over the city. From that moment, the entire day took on a whole different meaning. We now had seen TV, talked to a very dear friend who was in the middle of an unknown situation, and fear was running rapid, and every plane got grounded instantly, and the world was silent. Nothing else mattered but your family, your friends, and what was happening to the rest of the world. Was there going to be more terrorism? Was there going to be more attacks? What do we do, and how do we cope with this? Less than 24 hours later, I got pulled into the story one more time, and we found out that a dear friend from the church we were attending at the time was on that plane too, the hit tower. She had just gone to Washington, D.C. She had just got the news, been accepted for her first career after college job, and she was so excited to fly back to Rochester, Minnesota, and be with her family and celebrate the great news her professional career was kicking off. And then she was taken in a tragic terrorist event. Where were you on 9/11? What was the impact of 9/11 on you in your life? My older brother at the time was trying to find his way in his career life. He was one of the first people to sign up for TSA and join the TSA under the new way that we were going to do travel and baggage checks. And he was one of the very first people to jump on and get involved. See, 9/11 may have been 22 years ago, but it very much still feels like today. Again, we have a whole generation that does not understand how the world pivoted, adjusted at a snap. Our world forever changed. The things we took for granted, some of the liberties we had, and it all had to change to protect and provide better safety, better security for everyone that travels and everyone in our country. Since then, we know we've been protected. There's been other attempts. But 9/11 cannot be forgotten any more than the attack on Pearl Harbor can be forgotten. These are the moments of life that matter greatly. I'm curious today. Share with me in the notes below. Where were you at 9/11? What's your story of 9/11? Do you remember? Is it as vivid as it was for me when I walked down the steps and instead of seeing my daughter watching cartoons, we watched an airplane smash into a building and forever change our world? Let me know. Where were you on 9/11?